Some legends say that Dr. O and Maide Sensei are still fighting till this day.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hello Cardfighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and today is a very interesting one. As per usual, on Tuesday we've got a very eventful day as the live stream is then happening, and we've got a bunch of new reveals and informations and all those kind of goodness. But as to expect from the reveal stream on the same week that the new set is going to be revealed, there's usually not a lot of new news to go around, as most VRs are already revealed, the most high rarity cards are already revealed, and they usually do a exhibition match and then reveal the high rarity version, so the SVRs, ORs and that kind of stuff. And sometimes they throw in a mix with some new reveals for the upcoming sets after that. And as soon as we are having a lot of new reveals like the premium collection and the heroic evolution is coming right after that, I was expecting some new reveals, but that didn't happen. We basically got none. There was no new card reveals. They revealed some new promo series that they were going to do with the starters, and they revealed the high rarity stuff, but most of the stream was dedicated to a fight between Dr. O and Maide Sensei, which they used a blaster deck versus the brand, and that took more than an hour. And yeah, that's basically was it. But at the same time, it gives me an excuse to talk about a new card that was revealed just before the live stream this morning, and I didn't really have a good moment to talk about the card, so this is a good excuse to now talk about that last Link Joker card that was revealed. So first off, let's showcase the new high rarity for the set, for Light of Salvation, Logic of Destruction, and then we talk about this new Link Joker card, and that's basically will wrap up everything for this set in terms of reveals. During the stream, right before they did the exhibition match, they revealed a new promo pack series they're gonna do in Japan with all the old starters that every clan got, with a new foil version. So every clan can now start to pimp up their deck by a little bit with at least their starter. However, in this series, they showcased a new starter for Link Joker, and that was none other than Neo Messiah. So this will confirm, to even more extent, that there's going to be a lot of new Messiah support in the upcoming Link Joker booster. However, this is a promo series, so probably we're not gonna get it here in the West. With a little bit of luck, we might get it. But now's the question, is Neo Messiah also going to be in the set, or is it going to be an exclusive to this promo? But we have to wait and see, and maybe we'll get just a common version in the upcoming Heroic Evolution set. Now for the high rarities, we first saw the original rare cards, and we can now see that that's for Link Joker, that's the Great Free Brand. For Nova Grappler, that's Genocide Jack or Brutal Jack for us TCG players. And this is an interesting one. For Kagero, we got Full Armored Buster Dragon Knight, or how its complete name is. And that's odd, as you can see, it's the original Triple R art, as it's not an old unit, it's a completely new unit. And that's a little bit odd that they chose that card. I know it's a Triple R, so it makes sense, but they also could have gone with the Great One, or they could have gone with Dragonic Neoflame. Some people might suggest that they didn't pick Neoflame because it was the original Legion artwork, so it had some parts of Overlord the Great in its artwork, but I don't know if that is a reason why they did it. But it's interesting that they chose a card that didn't have an original artwork, while they have cards that did, and they had picked double R's in the past, so that is a little bit odd. And for Royal Pattern, we already knew about this, it's Arksaver Dragon. We also saw the SVR artworks, and this is not really new to what kind of units those are, as it's just the VRs, but what strikes as interesting is that these are the Japanese versions, but if you look closely to them, you can see it a little bit on brand, but you can see it especially very good on Masonic Lord Blaster. It's now the English gold hot stamped on the card. It just states its name in English. And usually with the Japanese version, they got the kanji version of the words or skills or what they did. So it's really odd to see that they're now using the English words on the Japanese versions of their SVRs. So we're probably gonna get the exact same version as you see here in the TCG, as there is no translation thing going on between the hot stamp version and not. So that's an interesting point to make. And now it's time to go to the Link Joker Great Free that I was referring to in the beginning of this video, and that is the Cadle Automata And this grade 3 has two very, very interesting skills. As its first skill is Continuous Vanguard Circle. This unit get power plus 10k, and your opponent's Vanguard get drive plus 1. So you give your opponent a drive plus 1, but you get plus 10k on the rear guard. So it's a 23k attacker on its own. And also this one has a force marker, so it's not even that bad if you ride it. But you usually want to put it onto the rear guard circle. Now, is giving your opponent a extra drive a good idea? Well, in Brand's case, it might even be that good to just give them more drive checks, so they're gonna hit their triggers and you will get those effects off. And especially if you are in Brand Ringer, any kind of trigger is probably a bad trigger. Now, what makes this card even more nastier is his second skill, and that's Continuous Record Circle. The trigger unit revealed by the first drive check of each turn or more is put into the drop zone instead of putting it into the hand. Trigger effect activates. Now, this means if you give that extra drive check and that third drive check, it's not the first and the second, it's that third drive check, it's going to be a trigger. You will get that negative effect of it from Brand if you use his skill, but they also need to ditch that trigger immediately, so they do not get any positive value from it. They maybe get -1 crit, or they deal themselves a damage, or they need to discard a card if it was a draw trigger. The front trigger is not that bad though, and they then immediately discard that trigger as well. It's just the fact that they didn't need to discard a trigger is also the fact that you let them discard a high guard value card, as they immediately lose that one. What also is nasty about this card is that it stacks. If you have two of these if you have two of these bad boys on the field, they get +2 extra drives. So that means there is even more chance of them hitting some triggers. And all those extra drives are going to be discarded if those are triggers. You need to note that grade 2s, 3s, and 1s, and normal grade 0s, if those are drive checks on the third or more, they can keep it. There is a negative side to this skill, but with how Brand works, there is a reason that you wouldn't play. What also is interesting about this interaction is the sense that it just synergizes with any kind of restander. If Maelstrom or the Dimensional Robot Dayusha is using that extra attack, they are already drive checking more than 2 in that turn. So all those extra drive checks are going to be discarded if they get some triggers onto them. The same with Pentagonial Mages. They need a -3 to get 5 drive checks. But if one of those drive checks, besides the second one, is a trigger, they're gonna actively minus even more. So some builds are gonna hit very hard because of this card in itself. But what's more deadly that comes to mind is a draw trigger, as that trigger, if you activate Brand's skill, is now turning into a discard. So when you get a draw trigger, they discard 1, but if it was the third or more drive check, you need to discard that draw trigger as well. So that could be a perfect card you now discard as well. So that's a -2 without doing anything, and that's pretty damn big. But it can also backfire in your own turn, as the skill states that during each turn. So if you're gonna restand your Vanguard with something like Given, you need to pay attention that you're drive checking a third time. So if that's a trigger, you might need to discard it if this thing is on your field. So you probably want to retire that one as well if you're paying the cost for Given. So that's basically everything for today. As I stated before, there isn't really that much to talk about. It's basically all about this new grade 3 for Link Joker that basically finish everything up for the Link Joker build. As I stated on my Twitter, this card makes Link Joker a very nasty build, but also oh so very interesting to play around with it, as it just screws with your opponent in all kinds of way, as you can screw with their triggers, you can screw with their deck, you can screw with their field, as well as giving them more drive checks, but at the same time making those drive checks even more dangerous in how you want to build it. And I'm just looking forward to the set, as I stated before. I'm hyped for Nova Grappler support. I'm also very interested in the Masonic Lord Blaster build, even though we miss a Blaster Sword, but it's still a very interesting thing to play around, as well as this Brand. And Kagero is also looking very interesting with Overlord the Great. I'm probably gonna do an extra video about the Great, as I talked about it in the reveal video, that I'm not really that excited about the card, that I think it's a little bit But in hindsight, when I talked with a lot of you guys and I've analyzed the card a little bit more, the card has a lot of good upsides and it fixes a lot of issues what Kagero is dealing right now. And I'm probably going to do a separate video about that to highlight what's that thing about Overlord the Great. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this last Link Joker reveal, as well as the high rarities support that we're going to get, and basically Light of Salvation, Logic of Destruction in general, what you think of this set now that we know everything about it, and it's about to be released in a Japanese format this Friday. As always, I want to thank my supporters over at Patreon, John Edmondson and Priest. You guys are amazing in supporting me to do this content, this YouTube channel for all of you guys over there. If you too want to support me on Patreon, then go to patreon.com/Vanguard Insider and become a Patreon today to also get access to some exclusive Vanguard content that's only on Patreon for Patrons. But with that said, I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I'll see you guys in the next one.